Shemini. First reading. Abraham, Chesed. On the 8th day, Moses called Aaron and his sons and the elders of Israel, and he said to Aaron, "Take a bull calf for your sin offering, and a ram for your burnt offering, both without defect, and present them before the Lord. Then say to the children of Israel the following: Take a male goat for a sin offering, a calf and a lamb, both a year old and without defect, for a burnt offering, and an ox and a ram for a peace offering to sacrifice before the Lord, together with a meal offering mixed with oil. For today the Lord will appear to you." They brought that which Moses commanded to the front of the tent of meeting, and the entire congregation came near and stood before the Lord. Then Moses said, "This is what the Lord has commanded you to do, so that the glory of the Lord may appear to you." Moses said to Aaron, "Come to the altar and sacrifice your sin offering and your burnt offering, and make atonement for yourself and the people. Sacrifice the offering that is for the people, and make atonement for them, as the Lord has commanded." So Aaron came to the altar and slaughtered the calf as a sin offering for himself. His sons brought the blood to him, and he dipped his finger into the blood and put it on the horns of the altar. The rest of the blood he poured out at the base of the altar. He burned the fat, the kidneys, and the covering of the liver from the sin offering on the altar, as the Lord commanded Moses. The flesh and the hide he burned up outside the camp. Then he slaughtered the burnt offering. His sons handed him the blood, and he sprinkled it against the altar on all sides. They handed him the burnt offering piece by piece, including the head, and he burned them on the altar. He washed the inner parts and the legs and burned them on top of the burnt offering on the altar. Aaron then brought the offering that was for the people. He took the goat for the people's sin offering and slaughtered it and offered it for a sin offering, as he did with the first one. He brought the burnt offering and offered it in the prescribed way. Shemini. Second reading. Isaac, Gevurah. He also brought the meal offering, took a handful of it, and burned it on the altar, in addition to the morning's burnt offering. He slaughtered the ox and the ram as the peace offering for the people. His sons handed him the blood, and he sprinkled it against the altar on all sides. But the fat portions of the ox and the ram, the fat tail, the layer of fat, the kidneys, and the covering of the liver, these they laid on the breasts, and then Aaron burned the fat on the altar. Aaron waved the breasts and the right thigh before the Lord as a wave offering, as Moses commanded. Then Aaron lifted his hands toward the people and blessed them. And having sacrificed the sin offering, the burnt offering, and the peace offering, he stepped down. Moses and Aaron then went into the tent of meeting. When they came out, they blessed the people, and the glory of the Lord appeared to all the people. Shemini. Third reading. Jacob, Tiferet. Fire came out from the presence of the Lord and consumed the burnt offering and the fat portions on the altar. And when all the people saw it, they shouted for joy and fell face down. Aaron's sons Nadab and Abihu took their censers, put fire in them, and added incense, and they offered unauthorized fire before the Lord, contrary to his command. So fire came out from the presence of the Lord and consumed them, and they died before the Lord. Moses then said to Aaron, "This is what the Lord spoke of when he said, 'Among those who approach me I will show myself holy. In the sight of all the people I will be honored.' Aaron remained silent. Moses summoned Mishael and Elzaphan, sons of Aaron's uncle Uzziel, and said to them, "Come here, carry your cousins away from the front of the sanctuary, outside the camp." So they came and carried them, still in their tunics, outside the camp, as Moses ordered. Then Moses said to Aaron and his sons Eleazar and Itamar, "Do not let your hair become unkempt, and do not tear your clothes, or you will die, and the Lord will be angry with the whole community. But your relatives, all the house of Israel, may mourn for those the Lord has destroyed by fire. Do not leave the entrance to the tent of meeting, or you will die, because the Lord's anointing oil is on you." So they did as Moses said. Then the Lord spoke to Aaron, saying, "You and your sons are not to drink wine or other fermented drink whenever you go into the tent of meeting, or you will die. This is a lasting ordinance for the generations to come. You must distinguish between the holy and the common, between the unclean and the clean. And you must teach the children of Israel all the decrees the Lord has given them through Moses." Shemini. Fourth reading. Moses, Netzach. Moses said to Aaron and his remaining sons, Eleazar and Itamar, "Take the meal offering left over from the offerings made to the Lord by fire, and eat it prepared without yeast beside the altar, for it is most holy. Eat it in a holy place, because it is your share and your son's share of the offerings made to the Lord by fire, for so I have been commanded. But you and your sons and your daughters may eat the breast that was waved and the thigh that was presented. Eat them in a ceremonially clean place. They have been given to you and your children as your share of the children of Israel's peace offerings. The thigh that was presented and the breast that was waved must be brought with the fat portions of the offerings made by fire, to be waved before the Lord as a wave offering. This will be the regular share for you and your children, as the Lord has commanded." Shemini. Fifth reading. Aaron, Hod. When Moses inquired about the goat of the sin offering and found that it had been burned up, he was angry with Eleazar and Itamar, Aaron's remaining sons, and asked, "Why didn't you eat the sin offering in the sanctuary area? It is most holy. It was given to you to take away the guilt of the community by making atonement for them before the Lord. Since its blood was not taken into the holy place, you should have eaten it in the sanctuary area as I commanded." Aaron replied to Moses, "Today they sacrificed their sin offering and their burnt offering before the Lord, but such things as this have happened to me. Would the Lord have been pleased if I had eaten the sin offering today?" When Moses heard this, he was satisfied. Shemini. Sixth reading. Joseph, Yesod. The Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, "Say to the children of Israel, of all the animals that live on land, these are the ones you may eat. You may eat any animal that has a split hoof, completely divided, and that chews the cud. From those that only chew the cud, or only have a split hoof, these are the ones you must not eat. The camel, though it chews the cud, does not have a split hoof. It is ceremonially unclean for you. The rock badger, though it chews the cud, does not have a split hoof. It is unclean for you. The rabbit, though it chews the cud, does not have a split hoof. It is unclean for you. And the pig, though it has a split hoof completely divided, does not chew the cud. It is unclean for you. You must not eat their meat or touch their carcasses. They are unclean for you. You may eat of all the creatures living in the water that have fins and scales and live in oceans or streams. But all creatures in the seas or streams that do not have fins and scales, whether among all the swarming things or among all the other living creatures in the water, they are detestable to you. And since they are detestable to you, you must not eat their meat, and you must detest their carcasses. Anything living in the water that does not have fins and scales is to be detestable to you. These are the birds you are to detest, and not eat, because they are detestable: the eagle, the vulture, the black vulture, the red kite, any kind of black kite, any kind of raven, the horned owl, the screech owl, the gull, any kind of hawk, the little owl, the cormorant, the great owl, the white owl, the desert owl, the osprey, the stork, any kind of heron, the hoopoe, and the bat. All flying insects that walk on all fours are to be detestable to you. Of those winged creatures that walk on all fours, these are the ones you may eat: those that have jointed legs for hopping on the ground. Of these you may eat any kind of locust, any kind of katydid, any kind of cricket, or any kind of grasshopper. But all other winged creatures that have 4 legs are detestable to you. You will make yourselves unclean by these. Whoever touches their carcasses will be unclean till evening. Whoever picks up one of their carcasses must wash his clothes, and he will be unclean till evening. Every animal that has a split hoof not completely divided, or that does not chew the cud, is unclean for you. Whoever touches them will be unclean. Of all the animals that walk on all fours, those that walk on their paws are unclean for you. Whoever touches their carcasses will be unclean till evening. Anyone who picks up their carcasses must wash his clothes, and he will be unclean till evening. They are unclean for you. Of the animals that move about on the ground, these are unclean for you: the weasel, the rat, any kind of great lizard, the gecko, the monitor lizard, the wall lizard, the skink, and the chameleon. Of all those that move along the ground, these are unclean for you. Whoever touches them when they are dead will be unclean till evening. When one of them dies and falls on something, that article, whatever its use, will be unclean, whether it is made of wood, cloth, hide, or sackcloth. Put it in water; it will be unclean till evening, and then it will be clean. Shemini, 7th reading, David, Malchut. If one of them falls into a clay pot, everything in it will be unclean, and you must break the pot. Any food that could be eaten but has water on it from such a pot is unclean, and any liquid that could be drunk from it is unclean. Anything that one of their carcasses falls on becomes unclean. An oven or cooking pot must be broken up. They are unclean, and you are to regard them as unclean. A spring, however, or a cistern for collecting water will remain clean, but anyone who touches one of these carcasses is unclean. If a carcass falls on any seeds that are to be planted, they remain clean. But if water has been put on the seed and a carcass falls on it, it is unclean for you. If an animal that you are allowed to eat dies, anyone who touches the carcass will be unclean till evening. Anyone who eats some of the carcass must wash his clothes, and he will be unclean till evening. Anyone who picks up the carcass must wash his clothes, and he will be unclean till evening. Every creature that moves about on the ground is detestable. It is not to be eaten. You are not to eat any creature that moves about on the ground, whether it moves on its belly, or walks on all fours, or on many feet. It is detestable. Do not defile yourselves by any of these creatures. Do not make yourselves unclean by means of them, or be made unclean by them. For I am the Lord your God. Consecrate yourselves and be holy, because I am holy. Do not make yourselves unclean by any creature that moves about on the ground. Shemini, Maftir. For I am the Lord, who brought you up out of Egypt to be your God. Therefore be holy, because I am holy. These are the regulations concerning animals, birds, every living thing that moves in the water, and every creature that moves about on the ground. You must distinguish between the unclean and the clean, between living creatures that may be eaten and those that may not be eaten. Haftarah of Shemini, 2 Samuel 6, 1-19. Again, David brought together the chosen men of Israel, 30,000 in all. And David arose and set out with all the people who were with him from Baalei Yehudah to bring up from there the ark of God, whose name is called by the name of the Lord of hosts, who sits between the cherubim. And they set the ark of God on a new cart, and brought it out of the house of Abinadab that was on the hill. And Uzzah and Achio, the sons of Abinadab, drove the new cart. And they brought it out of the house of Abinadab that was on the hill, with the ark of God, and Achio went before the ark. And David and the whole house of Israel played before the Lord, with all manner of instruments made of cypress wood, and with harps, and with lyres, and tambourines, and with sistrums, and with cymbals. And when they came to the threshing floor of Nakon, Uzzah reached out his hand to the ark of God and took hold of it, because the oxen stumbled. And the anger of the Lord was kindled against Uzzah, and God smote him there for his error, and there he died by the ark of God. And David was displeased, because the Lord had broken forth against Uzzah, and to this day that place is called Peretz Uzzah. And David was afraid of the Lord that day, and said, How can the ark of the Lord come to me? So David would not remove the ark of the Lord to be with him in the city of David. David carried it aside to the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite. And the ark of the Lord remained in the house of Obed-Edom the Gittite for 3 months. And the Lord blessed Obed-Edom and his entire house. And it was told King David, saying, The Lord has blessed the house of Obed-Edom and everything he has, because of the ark of God. And David went down and brought up the ark of God from the house of Obed-Edom to the city of David with joy. And it was so, that when they that bore the ark of the Lord had taken 6 steps, he sacrificed an ox and a fattened calf. And David, wearing a linen ephod, danced before the Lord with all his might. So David and the entire house of Israel brought up the ark of the Lord with shouting and the sound of the horn. And it was so, as the ark of the Lord came into the city of David, that Michal, the daughter of Saul, watched from a window, and saw King David leaping and dancing before the Lord, and she despised him in her heart. And they brought the ark of the Lord, and set it in its place inside the tent that David had pitched for it. And David offered burnt offerings and peace offerings before the Lord. And when David finished offering the burnt offerings and the peace offerings, he blessed the people in the name of the Lord of hosts. And he gave among all the people, even among the whole multitude of Israel, both to men and women, a loaf of bread, and a cake made in a pan, and a sweet cake. And all the people departed and went to their homes.